So the Columbus Performing Arts Center was originally Players Theater. At one point, Players Theater was the longest running amateur theater company in the United States.
So Agnes Jeffrey Shedd was the founder of Columbus Players Club in the 1920s, and she had this theater built as a permanent home for Columbus Players Club.
The building that we are now in is the original Players Theater.
Agnes Jeffrey Shedd knew that the most economical way to build a theater for her company was to buy a pre-existing house and then build off of that.
There's quite a lot of history within these bricks. The bricks were originally part of a school, and when that school was torn down, the bricks were used to make what we see as the original portion of the theater. It was one of the early examples of reuse of building materials here in the United States.
It's really interesting when you look at the outside of the building, people always think that this part of the building is older, but it's actually the part that was built on afterwards. Years later, a separate house was built right next to the original one to mimic it and look like kind of a carriage house. And those two buildings were joined together. And then the Van Fleet Theater was built on as a black box theater to complement the Shedd.
In 2008, the city of Columbus needed to find another way to make use of the building. It was no longer functioning for them, so CATCO stepped in to run the building in partnership with the city of Columbus. So they own the building and we manage it on their behalf. We ensure that a wide variety of groups have use of the space, not just ourselves.
Most nights of the year we have two shows happening, so something in the Shedd and something in the Van Fleet. And so when you walk in the front door, there's a lot of energy. There's audiences waiting to go into each theater. We have signs up kind of pointing people in the right direction because it can get a little bit confusing with that many people there.
So the Shedd, the space that we are in currently, is a proscenium stage. It seats 314 people.
The Shedd Theater has a single purchase fly system, so we're able to bring set pieces in and out. The Van Fleet Theater is our smaller theater. It seats 175 patrons, and it's kind of a black box style, a 3/4 thrust. And it's really great for our rentals who are anticipating having a smaller audience or who want kind of a more intimate experience. The Van Fleet Theater does have a grid that you can access with a ladder to hang lights. Both the Shedd and Van Fleet Theater are equipped with an ETC Express lighting board, and we also have a Nomad, which we're able to bring back and forth between the two spaces and use that to utilize our moving lights as well as conventional. We have a projector in each space, and lots of our shows have made use of those for a scenic component or when we hold conferences or events like that here. In addition to the two theaters here, we also have a scene shop where CATCO will sometimes build parts of their set or where some of our regular theater companies will store their sets right before load-in. The scene shop is often used as kind of a staging area for storing set pieces before a show loads in. If a group is in the Van Fleet Theater, they can load in from the back door and come through the scene shop. If they're in the Shedd Theater, then we have these great big doors that open up from the scene shop across the hall into the Shedd Theater. We also have a dance room with a marley floor that is used for dance classes and camps. We partner with Hickson Dance Company and they hold dance classes there. It's also sometimes used as overflow for the dressing rooms for the Van Fleet Theater. We also have two rehearsal rooms in the basement, one of which is also doubles as a craft room for summer camps. And there are also offices and storage throughout the building, some of which we rent out to our rental groups and some of which is used for CATCO costumes and props.
So CATCO as Kids grew out of the Phoenix Theater for Children. And so the Phoenix Theater and CATCO, or the Contemporary American Theater Company, merged roughly 10 years ago, a little bit more than 10 years. And when they merged, they rebranded the company. And so CATCO became CATCO as Theater, and then the Phoenix Theater for Children became CATCO as Kids. We typically have 5 performances here, or productions here at the CPAC, where we'll have one at the end of summer, And that is a month-long camp that culminates into the first production of the Catco's Kids season. Then we have a show during the holidays. Then once the new year comes, we usually have a show in January and then March. And then we close out our season in May here at the CPAC. Through our summer camp programming, we serve approximately 750 students. We have weekly camps that happen at the CPAC, and each one of those camps follows a different theme each week. And those are typically for students who are 4 all the way up through 12. Then we have teen programming as well that happens, and we've done teen intensive programming that lasts 2 weeks. We're doing one of those this summer. And we've also done some programming where it's a teen intensive that actually culminates into a teen show. We like to make sure that there is a student or a young artist on stage in our productions, because that can inspire the students or young artists watching the play and kind of give them that, hey, I could do that moment. So that's something that we think is incredibly important, and we strive to give that moment to anybody who comes to see our shows. Knowing that students are finding their place, and they might be pursuing things that they would never have thought to pursue before. That is incredibly encouraging, and that's one of the reasons why I love to work for Catco.
I know a lot of people have a really strong connection to the building, that they went to summer camps here when they were kids, they came to see shows, and I think the building has a lot of history that's really important to a lot of people. And it always feels like a welcoming space when you walk in the door.